what confirmation management is all about. Uh, we have been using ARIS for modeling content and in various ways and forms using it for document management and enterprise management system. So the idea is that you're creating a lot of content within ARIS, and then for some of the industries which are highly regulated, as well as for some use cases, you want the users who are using this content to sign up for it in the sense that they understand what the process is all about. So when you roll out any change to the user, uh, you get a confirmation from them that yes, they have understood the new change or the new process or the new document. So in order to manage that, we have come up with this confirmation management as a capability. What we're trying to solve here is to ensure that the users are consuming the content, and uh, uh, we are able to assess if they have understood what's being uh, published onto them. So when the content in terms of change management or any new process that is released to the general audience, you have an option to get them to sign up for it. What that means is they go through it and say, yes, I understand what this is all about. And confirmation management is that capability that is used for managing it. Confirmation management also ensures that everybody who has confirmed that they understand the content and they've gone through it, they have read and understood it. It is all logged so that you have an audit log that you can show to anybody if somebody wants to know who has been trained on a particular process or a set of processes. Then you have an audit log which says, okay, these people have signed up or um, accepted that they have read and understood this particular content. What it needs in terms of infrastructure is that you need a license called ARIS Enterprise, and there's an extension called Rollout Add-ons where you have this rollout as a confirmation management as one of the capabilities. If you are on an older version of ARIS, then there was an extension called ARCM BPM confirmation management that was needed to use confirmation management as one of the capabilities. So those are the licenses that are needed. Um, so how does it all work? So the idea is that when a particular process is published to the audience, they get this particular message on top of the header where it says, okay, this process has been updated or has been released. You have to go through it. Please read it carefully and say that you have understood what this is all about. And there's a button there called accepted. This content here that's shown highlighted, confirmation required with that text and that accepted button. These are all configurable now, so you can have your own header with your own content and your own button name. So it can read something else as well. It could also say this content is up to date and approve as a button. You can use this for various use cases. So in this case, it is that you are publishing a new process to the viewers, and they accept it by saying, "Okay, I have understood what this new process is all about and have read it." The same thing can also apply to the process owners, where you could say validation required, and you could say that please validate your process and ensure it is up to date. And in the bottom, the button could say approved or updated or something, whatever. So there are different use cases you could use this confirmation management for. At the heart of it, it's a scheduled process where you can define the content that you want to show to the user with their action of acceptance or or approval, and then it is all supported by notifications. So you receive a notification if you need to carry out a particular task, you accept that task, and then it is all logged. And that's for ensuring compliance. To show, in case of audit, you have a log that says, okay, these are all the people who have either validated their processes, that they are all up to date, or they have gone through the process and they have accepted that they understand the process. So who uses it? There are two sets of examples that I gave earlier. One is a consumer who could be a process user, a viewer, who looks at the content and says, okay, I have understood this process and I accept what this process is all about. I've read and understood it. There could also be the process owner who can use this for validation, where they say, okay, this process is up to date and I approve that it is up to date. But the process owner is also somebody who sets up the configuration in terms of sets up the confirmation. So if you need to schedule a particular process for confirmation management, then the process owner, or in this case the confirmation owner, is the one who defines the confirmation to say, okay, these which are the people that should be receiving this particular notification as a task, and what is the schedule, in the sense when should it start and how many days do they have to answer or to approve or read and understand this particular content. In addition, there is also an option to have a recurring task. So it's not that it's a one-time activity. You could say this recurs every 6 months or every quarter or every year. So every year or every quarter, you get this notification to say, okay, I've read and understood this process, even though there's no change in it. But in some cases where the regulatory requirement is quite strict, for example, oil and gas or defense, that you need to be up to date and have to go through this content every quarter or every half year, then you could have a recurring schedule set where every 6 months they get a notification to go through the process and accept it, to say, okay, I have read it and I understand this process. So what's the process like? So usually it starts when a new process has been published or an existing process is updated. At that stage, the process owner can initiate a confirmation process. You also have an option which is not standard. It needs some work, where this particular confirmation management can be triggered automatically by the sign off of a approval of a process. So if you're using ARIS process governance for managing the life cycle of your process, every time a new process is published, we could perhaps initiate a confirmation process, which goes out to all the people that are following a particular process, and they receive the notification to confirm that they have understood the new version of this process that has been published. So the consumers or the people who are modelers, viewers, receive this particular task and they confirm, okay, yes, I have read and understood it. And then this information is logged for later retrieval as an audit log. In terms of the architecture, as I said earlier, you have a requirement for ARIS Risk and Compliance Manager, because that's the uh, part of ARIS or the capability within ARIS that manages the schedule and the workflow for triggering the workflow, for managing it, and the audit log as well. So from the end user perspective, in terms of various roles as a process owner or a viewer, you just interact with Connect, the Connect portal. But in the background, Connect portal reaches out to a risk and compliance manager to manage that actual workflow. So you do need to have an active ARCM runnable on your environment. If you're using ARIS Cloud, then if you're on ARIS Enterprise, as I said earlier, you need an additional rollout extension license for this to work. So in terms of workflow, how it usually starts. So we have this process owner who defines what the confirmation schedule is like. So they say, okay, this process is a new process or is a updated process, and I want to launch a confirmation on this. So they define the scheduler, in which they say, okay, what's the schedule? When does it start? How many days does the user have to approve or accept this particular schedule task, and what should be shown to them in terms of the content. They also have an option to decide who receives this particular notification. So if you have a viewer group in particular business area, you send it to those people. So that initiates a confirmation process, and that confirmation process is actually run in ARCM, ARIS Risk and Compliance Manager. And on the date of the scheduled time, a confirmation is launched to the consumers, who can then go in and accept that particular confirmation to say, okay, yes, I have read and understood this particular change or this new process. And to manage all of this, you also have a confirmation administrator. So the confirmation administrator can look at all the confirmations and can manage them, in the sense they can make changes to the confirmation in terms of extending it to a later date, or to add more people to a particular confirmation. So if you think that you need to extend the time of termination of that particular workflow by, say, another week or 2 weeks to give more time for people to go through it, then the administrator can do that activity. They can extend the confirmation end date. They can also add new people to the scope to say, okay, if there are additional people that were missed out earlier and should be added to a particular confirmation workflow, they can do that as well. There is also a audit role. So as an auditor, you have an option to monitor what's going on. So if you are in an auditor role and actually not interested in doing any activity, but you want to have a look at how many confirmations are ongoing and which processes they're going on and who are the people part of it, and how they are being, what's the status of them, how many have been answered, how many unanswered, then as an auditor, you can look at it. The administrator has that role built in. So the administrator by the default can supervise and manage all the confirmations. So of course, they can do the auditor role as well. The owner can look at only their confirmations. So if they want to work with confirmations, the owner just can look at their confirmations that they have launched, whereas the administrator can work with all confirmations launched by all owners. Right. So how do you know that there's a confirmation waiting for you? So you get a notification by mail. So if there is a confirmation that's needed from you in terms of read and understood, that you have to go to a particular process and say, okay, yes, I accept it, then it's available to you as a notification with a link to say, okay, this is the process that's updated or has been released. Please go through it. So you get a notification by mail, but you also see this as a task in my GRC tasks, which is a quick access link on the app launcher. I'll show that to you in a bit. So you can click on my GRC tasks and look at your outstanding tasks as well. And when you click on it, it takes you to the process which needs to be reviewed. And on the top in the header, you can see what that says. It says, I hereby confirm that I have read and understood this information. And you can confirm by clicking that confirm button, in which case there's a green button, green status symbol that says confirm. So it says that, okay, you've confirmed that you have understood this particular process. So it's highlighted there. You also have a capability to assign additional information along with this particular scheduler. So if you want to assign any additional documents that need to be reviewed along with this process as a standard operating procedure, for example, then you also have the capability to attach those documents as part of this particular task. So when the user clicks on the process, they are also presented with these additional documents that they need to read before they confirm. As an administrator, I get to see all the confirmations. So I can see all the current outstanding tasks and their status, also how many are open and how many have been accepted, and the start and the end date. And as an administrator, I have the capability to click on any one of them and edit them to change their end date, or to add more people to it, or to terminate it if everybody's answered it. Right. At this stage, I think I'll get into the system and show you things hands-on. So that's ARIS, and this is the ARIS Connect, where I have published database, and I can open one of the processes. So if this was the process that was updated recently or is a new model that has been published to the users, then as a confirmation owner, I have this tab called confirmations. And this tab is not available to everybody. This tab is available to the confirmation owner, which is a privilege that you can offer to the people who own the processes. So it's a functional privilege. So the people that need to be managing confirmations can be allocated three different roles. As I said earlier, you could either be a confirmation owner or a confirmation administrator or a confirmation auditor. So if you're the confirmation owner or the confirmation administrator, you get this option called confirmations, which is an additional tab on your process view. You can click on this and you have the option of creating a new schedule by clicking on this option here, create confirmation process scheduler. You can also see some ongoing confirmation processes that are already in flight. So that's something that's you can see. And you also have an option to filter it based on various things. You can say, okay, talk about a particular process or start and end date when you want. If you want, if there are too many confirmation processes ongoing on this, you can filter them by date, or you can filter them by their status in terms of active, finished, retired. And it shows you the filtered result. So this is currently active, so it says active. But if you were to launch a new confirmation, then you click on this button here called create confirmation, and then it says some things that are pre-filled. The name is confirmation of this particular, that's the name of the process, and you have an option to put in a description. You can also change this name to something else. This is the name that is sent to the user as a notification. So by default, I think it's good to have retain what's shown by default. So it says confirmation of this particular model name, and it's you have an option to put in change the start date. So you could say, okay, let's start it, in this case today, and you say how many days should it be open. So I say, okay, let it be open for 10 days, within which they need to answer or go through the content and verify it and say that they understand it. And then you have an option to say how frequently should it recur. In this case, I'd say just one off, or you also have an option to say quarterly, semi-annually, annually, every second year. So in cases where, which I mentioned earlier, you need to carry out this read and understood activity every year as part of your regulation, then you could schedule this as an annual event. Else, if you're doing it once, then you can always say, okay, just do it once. And then it says who are the people that should be receiving this particular confirmation process. And in this case, I would say, okay, say all the modelers should be receiving it. You could have a viewer group. You could say all the viewers are receiving it. So anybody that belongs to this particular user group would be receiving this notification to go through and confirm that they have understood this process. In addition, you also have an option to update the content part, where this is what is shown to the user in the header. So if I go back to my slides where I spoke about the content can be configured, which is this confirmation required, and this subject line, the text here, that is configured here. So you could say something else here instead of what you have in here by default. So it says, I hereby confirm I have read and understood this information. Instead, you could say something else as well. I hereby confirm that I have read and understood this process. and the supporting standard operating procedure. And that's the button label. You can also call this something else, accepted, for example. And then you have an option to attach documents to it. So you could attach some documents from your document storage. Okay, I'm having some problem with the document storage, but you, of course, can attach some documents to the document storage. That should be part of the, that could be the standard operating procedure. And if you're done with this and you're happy with this, you can save and close, in which case it launches that confirmation process. So it's in flight at the moment. What that means is that it has been activated, and it will be sent off to the users as a overnight job. But since it is just for today, I'll manually run this overnight job in ARCM. You don't have to worry about this as an end user or a configuration user, but for today, since I'm doing it as a demo, I'm going to manually run this confirmation job. Okay, ignore that last bit. You don't need to do anything about it. Okay, so that job is in progress now, and it has been scheduled. So at some point in time, you should receive a mail notification that says, "Okay, here you need to confirm that you understand this process." So I've received that mail already. So hello, my name, and the new confirmation task. This task is available to you. Please read and accept the confirmation by this and this time. So that's 10 days from now. And it gives me a link where I need to do that. And again, this text is configurable. So if you want to change this text to something more meaningful, and you think that this is too rudimentary, then you have an option to redo this. And so you receive a notification. Apart from that, you also have an option to look at it within the tool. So if I log in as a modeler, so this particular user, which is me, is part of the modeler user group. So as a modeler user group, I should have received this task in my portal as well. It's a bit slow. Okay, so you see there's a balloon here with the highlight my GRC tasks, and it shows in bright red that I have a task pending. And you can click on this to go to your GRC tasks, where it shows you the confirmation management task. So that's the task waiting for me, confirmation of that particular process. The same thing is also available, as I said earlier, from here, my GRC tasks. So if you were interested to look at all your tasks, you can click on this and go there as well. So it comes to the same page. And now you see that that's the process, and that's the status. It's open at the moment, and that's the task description. It says perform confirmation. What I could do is I could click on this, and it takes me directly to that process which needs to be read and understood. So it takes me to this particular process, and on the top you see there's this big header that's automatically shown. It says confirmation of this particular process. Agree to the confirmation by such and such time, and that's the wording that was something that I changed. I hereby confirm that I have read and understood this process and the supporting standard operating procedure. So that's available here. At this point, you could go through this process and see everything about it. You could go to the diagram view. You can also collapse this to make room for the process. And once you have seen all of it and have read the supporting documents, it's a bit slow. So once you have gone through the process and read all the supporting documents, you have an option to say accept it. There's also the option to show details. In the show details, it actually shows you the attached documents, so you can see all of that. And at this stage, I could say accepted, and this has changed to confirmed. So that header, the big header on the top, which was there for as a warning, has now automatically gone, and you get this full view of the process with the confirmed option on the top. So that's where it says, okay, now this process has been read and understood by you, and you have confirmed it. As a as an administrator, I can always look at what's going on, and I can go to the confirmations tab here. Or as an administrator, I also have this additional confirmations option here in the app launcher, which is available only to the confirmation administrator. So not everybody gets that. If you have the role of confirmation administrator, then you have this additional button here called the confirmations. You can click on it to view all the confirmations that are currently ongoing. And these are all the confirmations, of which three are active, one has finished. You can look at their status here. It shows you the dates when it was started and when it's supposed to end. It shows you the names of the processes on which it is running. And it also shows you the status of what it. None of them are open. Three of them have been accepted, and one has not completed. It's past this date, but has not been completed. So you can look at that. In case you want more details on it, you can click on this and then look at more information. To see what that process was all about. And here you can see more details about that particular process. As an administrator or as an owner, you have an option to change the due date. So if you think that you need more time for this, it ends tomorrow, and you need more time for it, you can extend this date to a later date, say by a week. And you also have an option to change the assignee. So if you think that it needs to be sent to other people apart from the modeler, you also have an option to add other people to it. So if you add this and save it, those additional people are also going to be receiving confirmations. So these are some changes that you can do as an administrator or as a process owner. And you have an option to terminate the scheduler as well. So if you think that it has been completed or you want to make changes to it, you have an option to edit the scheduler, or you have an option to terminate it. Right. So these were some of the capabilities that I wanted to show you today. So we logged into ARIS and created a schedule for a particular process confirmation, and then the person got the confirmation notification, and they got onto ARIS and read the process and confirmed it. And as an administrator, you have an option to view the confirmation status of how it is progressing, and then take action in terms of extending it or adding it to more people or terminating it. Right. So that's it from me today.